welcome back for another episode of Skaterbirds Radio. Today with us we got Zena, and I used to work together on another project, so it was really dope to have her on the podcast this week. Today we're just going to go a little bit into about just a couple of topics, Web3 based. We're going into the ETH merge. We're talking about just bridging the gap between Web 2 and Web 3 and just general things. But she's a very insightful person, so definitely listen in. And yeah, we about to get it jumping. Let's go. So we have Zarina with us. Zarina, what's good?
Hello.
Word. So, thanks for pulling up, Zarina. It's nice to have you, bro. It's crazy, yo. I couldn't even believe that we were gonna be on the podcast together. It was nuts.
Right? It was like we met in a different project, and now we're here. Like this is
yeah, that's crazy. So for those who don't know, me and Zarina are actually mods for another project, and I forgot how it was, but we were just like in there like grinding, trying to get whitelist to it. We ended up both being mods, and then that's crazy. It's just crazy as hell how we end up in this situation on a podcast talking. So yeah, man, it's nice to connect with you again and talk. I spoke with you a little bit yesterday. So what you been up to? What's good? What's good?
What's good? I'm not gonna lie, it has been a very, very lazy Sunday, as I believe Sundays should be. However, I seem to not be able to escape this Web3 space. So, like, if I'm not in Discords or something like that, I'm on Twitter Spaces, which is becoming, like, my new meta. But still, just surrounding myself with, like, insane Web3 communities, it's, like, addictive. I think it's the people that's addictive, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like, when you make good connections with somebody and know that they're just like, grabbing your phone, like just a phone grab away, it's the most enticing and like best feeling to do. All right, cool. I can go talk to somebody I know. They're cool. They're not a piece of shit. Like, so yeah. So you said something about the spaces. So yesterday, you kind of clued me in a little bit. You've been doing these 24-hour spaces. What's good with that? Like,
Yes,
you just
sir.
what?
We have. I mean, I don't want to shill or anything, but I mean, yep, totally uninformed opinions is a 24-hour space that we've been running for 28 days. It's very interesting, and unfortunately, I was not around during Clubhouse days, which seems to be a comparison that people are making all the time with what we have going. So it's. Yeah, I don't know. Like, so what happened was, like, we were running around looking for spaces, like somewhere where you can just chill and have a chat and not be shilled and not be told, oh, go buy this, oh, go buy that, oh, go get this, and blah, blah, blah. So just like a safe space where you can discuss everything that is on your mind in this crazy, like, Web3 space that we're trying to navigate, which is what I think you have going here, which I think is amazing. Like, these podcasts are such a good idea. So yeah, and it just happened that I bumped into quite a few people that had the same sentiment, and it just kept on going. Like, there are consistently over 100 people, 24/7 partaking in conversations, and I think the space needs it. I think we need to connect with each other on a more human level and not just a shill by my project kind of level.
Word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's very important, because we just get into this mindset where everybody's trying to just, like, grow their bags, and then we're all on the same mission where we're trying to just get money into space, and it kind of feels like robotic sometimes. So we forget that, like, we're dealing with people, and, like, oh, she rubbed Zarina's back. So it was good.
Oh my God! If I tell you what I just did,
this
you'll be
multitask
like,
ain't working, bro.
Just go in front of a laptop, like. Oh God!
Yeah.
I've got multiple screens, so like I was looking at it. This is again like on like the whole multitasking thing that just does not work. So I'm looking at a different screen and I'm trying to refresh that screen, but instead I refreshed your podcast screen.
Yeah, I'm so bad at multitasking. Like, if you saw what I'm like looking like my face is very close to my phone right now, and I'm just staring into the screen. Like, I don't, I don't, yeah,
This
I
is where you are.
can't do too much, like other than one thing at a time. So, but
I don't blame you.
but yeah, man, it's I'm glad that you are doing something to help people connect interpersonally with each other. It's really good to just remind each other that we're all human beings, just not like PFPs, you know. It helps
Absolutely.
us just like connect better with just folks, and it kind of gives you like, there's something about like, putting a face to people and knowing that like a real person is behind the Twitter account or whatever you're doing. It's something about that makes people want to help you out more, makes you want to help people out more in general. So I think we need to have more connections like that every day, bro. Like every day. So it's you. So what? You're on day 27, right? Is that what you said yesterday?
28.
Well, me and you talk
Day
real quick.
28.
Damn, day 28. So
Yes,
this
sir.
is day 28 of a 24-hour basis, and that's
Yes, sir.
and you had the COO of Ethereum pull up. Like, what the hell is going on? What you got? What is this that you guys are planning? Like, what is this? What is
Yeah,
this?
we had one of the co-founders of Ethereum jump in, and this is what's interesting about running a space for so long. Like the people that come through, like
Hmm.
yesterday we had an animator from Nickelodeon. We have an animator from Disney. That consistently chills in our space. There's this musician called Tay something. I can't remember his name. He's also like consistently hanging out.
Hmm.
Radio Shack is consistently hanging
What?
out. Yeah, yeah. Radio Shack and like two of Radio Shack's like main staff are part of like they co-host the show with us. So yeah,
Wait, so Radio Shack is still a thing?
Radio Shack is still a thing. Radio Shack is still a thing.
What?
Go figure. Oh yeah, and you should check out their Twitter account if you have not. Like if you are into like oh my god, you will think it's the biggest troll account ever. Like you have to check out the Radio Shack account.
Yeah, now I know where to like. Radio Shack was the spot for like old busted gadgets from like the 1990s and like all those like. If they probably, I don't know what else I could go to Radio Shack for, but word, all power.
Batteries,
I'm glad
apparently.
Radio Shack. I'm glad Radio Shack is rocking with y'all. That's tough though. Like that's real tough. Like to have a real brand come in and just like start rocking with y'all. That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah, it's
This is
super
such a
chill.
crazy thing you got going on.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
I
and
think
you were
we
saying
might be getting if anyone is listening that that
mm,
has connections, we are looking for sponsors. But the catch is that we are like by definition a no shill space. So I feel like that's the like one of our biggest hurdles. But yeah. Yeah.
so if y'all anybody listening, if y'all got money, come this way, please.
Yeah, yeah.
Word.
My Ethereum address is zreina.eth. Like it's super easy. Just letting you know. Don't ask me where the money's going. Just give it. Just throw it at me.
Yo, that's the best
No,
way
don't
to
do
do
that.
it.
Do not do that, please.
That's the best way to do it. So let's what about so like what give me like a kind of like a feel like what you guys been talking about lately. Like is I know like a big conversation that has been coming up with just like many people because like people are getting tired of just like I guess basic Web3 utility. Like people are talking about like what we can do for like the real world, like what the Web3 can do for the real world. So like you guys been talking about like stuff like bridging that gap between Web 2 and Web 3. Like, what are the topics been like?
Absolutely. Funny enough, that's one of my favorite topics. It always has been because I feel like since I got into the NFT space, which was like early, well, not early, it was like late last year. So about around November, December, when I really started getting involved in like the Ethereum network and NFTs on the Ethereum like blockchain and stuff like that, and getting involved in the communities. And I think since then, one of the biggest questions in my mind has been, okay, but how do people actually benefit in real life from these like projects that you're getting involved in? And just like a project that I was involved in had to make sense for me. It had to, I had to see some sort of benefit. Like even if something had a high floor price, I had to understand, okay, why? And
Right.
so that gap between like Web 2 and Web 3 kind of tends to answer that question quite often. But yeah, it's been one of our biggest discussions, the integration of Web 2 into Web 3 and vice versa, Web 3 back into Web 2. So we're pretty much on the conversation of like Web 2.5.
Yeah, I think like I think about it in a way of like, we got a lot of young investors in this space. Kids who are like 15, 16, 17, 18. Like I try to imagine it as if like if I was going to ask my mom for money to go buy this NFT and she said, "What is it for?" Would I be able to tell her anything? Like would I be like, "Oh, like it's the use it allows me to mint faster. It allows me to go have this like picture on my thing. I can make my PFP like she's not gonna know. One, she's not gonna know what the fuck I'm saying, and two, it's just like she's not gonna see like any use case for it whatsoever because one, she doesn't understand it. Two, it's just there's nothing tangible right now coming that from Web3 that's like really real world tangible. So I think the discussion around making it something that's accessible to like real life situations, like they're already starting with using NFTs as like concert passes, which is great, and different things. And now we got a lot of teams are working on merch and doing all that stuff. But it's eventually we're going to want to see something more than clothes. We're going to want to see something more than I don't know, like a pin or a hairpin or like a something you can tag on your book bag, right? So it's really a great conversation, and I feel like Web3 and NFTs have so much potential to make like goods and valuables a lot more easily accessible and more organized. So, but it's just like, how are we going to do it, and what goods are we going to provide?
Absolutely. I agree 100% that there is so much potential with the technology that we have, and it goes so much deeper than I think like one of the most basic use cases we're going to have is ticketing. But when you're trying to explain it to someone, it just makes the most sense, right? Because it's something that is an NFT by its most basic definition is just something that guarantees or shows proof of ownership, right? That's it. It's on the blockchain. It's not something that you can change. It's not something that you can hide. And that's the whole, that's part of the appeal, right? And I think that opens up a lot more use cases.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think like of other use cases that we've been discussing.
Yeah, I think like one really dope thing that I've done recently as far as using NFTs is the whole chain pass thing. You know about chain pass, like when you're just going into like, well, I used it at NFT NYC. So to get into some of the events and like prove that you're a holder, they have this thing called chain pass where they scan it at the door. Like, oh, okay, like you're a holder. I can see that. Like, keep them, like, it's a very simple process. Like, they don't got to go on and check my MetaMask and wallet or nothing. It's just like a simple, the stupid box. What's the little box that we always scan? What's that little thing called? I'm going blank.
A little box, like a barcode?
The QR code. The QR code.
A QR code?
Yo, the QR code, bro. So we scanned the QR code and it just you just keep it moving, and it's dope. And stuff like that. So I think like that will allow. I think, man, eventually I can imagine just like what we're gonna go into with that, with like maybe credit cards or like anything financially based. Like I can really see it taking off. We already have like whole countries that are like integrating crypto into their ecosystem, like El Salvador and I forgot some other place, but yeah, it's just so much potential all around. I'm trying to think of like what other can I do besides getting a pair of socks. Like I haven't been to, like brainstorming that much, but I'm working on it. But yeah.
So I think there's a lot of use cases, and I think it's funny that you mentioned like the whole scanning the QR code thing, because authentication of like IRL and physical objects definitely is one of the biggest areas that I feel like NFTs can be beneficial in. And we're talking about like massive brands, and we actually have someone that drops in and has mentioned that like there are high-end brands that are looking at incorporating NFT technology in order to authenticate their products. So like, for example, if you buy a Gucci bag, like how do you authenticate that that's a real Gucci bag? Like you could literally have like some kind of nanotechnology stitched into this bag. Like, this is definitely an uninformed opinion, but like you can literally have this technology like stitched into your bag and then scanned and authenticated through the blockchain, like your proof of ownership. So if you get sent that token, like very much like what the whole Tiffany like process is for their 250 pendants that they're offering. So I think the biggest thing with that is that they're now creating like this complete set of like this physical object that can now be authenticated like through proof of ownership through your NFT, and link back to your specific NFT, and no one can take that away from you. Like it's yours. I think that's one of my favorite use cases that I've been seeing, and to be honest, I feel like it's probably the easiest and fastest to implement. If we're talking use cases, we can expand that further into potentially governments adopting these systems in their processes, and I know I've chatted with a few people that are currently in talks with the Dubai government, and how the Dubai government could benefit from using things like soulbound tokens and soulbound NFTs, and how they could integrate those into their systems. And we're talking about like things like identification and where it's stored and blah blah blah. But I think in a bird's eye view, like before we get into like even more use cases, I think it's important to remember that when you are looking at a project, or when you have an idea, right? I think we're still very much based in Web 2. We live in Web 2, right? So our lives are very much integrated into Web 2. So when you have an idea, if you have a business idea, if you have an idea for a product, if you have any sort of idea, I don't think the first thing on your mind should be like, okay, how do I make this an NFT? I think the first thing on your mind should be, okay, how can this technology help my idea or push my project forward? And then I think that integration makes sense. Like before that, I just it's quite a funny idea to think, okay, I'm going to launch this NFT and then see how I'm going to use the technology. I mean, if it doesn't make sense to use, why would you want to go for Web3 in the first place?
That makes perfect sense. And I feel like, for the months I've been in this space, so I came in the space in September. For the almost year I've been in NFTs, it's like you just nonstop. Like you see people just shitting on Web 2 and like, we're not in Web 2 anymore. We're in Web 3. It's like, well, how the fuck do you expect to like get people to come from Web 2 if you're not like showing them something like, or like tangible, or like actually building from Web 2 to like bring into Web 3? It's just like, it's like a little backwards right now. And I think because everybody's so excited for the potential of like Web3 and like, whether it's like metaverse integration into things, or whether it's just like, bringing overall simplicity to life through the digital age. I think it's just, we're a little bit overly excited. And I feel like sometimes people are just like that excitement is just leading to people shunning the idea of like bringing Web 2 into the space. But now I think after, and we know how fast this space moves, but now after bringing so many different types of projects into the things in space, I think people are finally like, oh, okay, I can't do shit with this. Like, what can we do? What can we do to bring some real value to this and actual use to it? So that way my project just doesn't dump in a few months, Yeah, I think it's such a wonderful thing, and I feel like like you mentioned, it's a really great idea to like kind of start from the ground up, like start from like developing good products first and figure out how we can make NFTs, make those use cases for those products, make accessibility to those products easier, and just more simple, and providing real like ownership over whatever goods that we have and stuff like that. So I really think that's a really good point.
Absolutely. I agree. I was gonna say, like, and this is not me, like me saying that, okay, you have to have your business idea set out and you have to start in Web 2 and blah blah blah. This is not me fudding on anyone that comes into the NFT space and sees it, and I do see it this way myself, and sees it as kind of like the Kickstarter system. So there's lots of different ways you can look at approaching the space when you're planning on launching a product, right, or a project. So you can treat your project solely as like an access token, in which case you would approach it as like a Kickstarter project where like you see, okay, well, Web3 is a very inclusive way for me to raise money from everywhere around the world, and have a plethora of different people investing in my project, and supporting it, but also giving opportunity to people everywhere and not just in a specific region or in a specific place. However, if you are going to approach it like that, I think it's like very, very important for you to be clear from the beginning that, okay, we are using this technology, we are using this platform, we are using this project to raise money to support a Web 2 business. You've got to be clear on that, because I think that takes me into, and I don't know if we want to shift the conversation just yet, but onto utility. And if you define those lines very early on, like before your project launches, I don't think there's any misconception for people after you launch on utility and, when utility, when this. So like if you come out straight out the bat and you're like, this is my business plan in my Web 2, this is like my Web 2 business plan, and I'm going to be raising money for this in Web 3, and you are going to be like technically a shareholder in this business. If that is your plan and you are using this platform to raise money, I think you just have to be very clear about it. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. Actually, I think it's a very, very, again, inclusive way to spread out your investors around the world.
Because there's a general like
to be clear about it.
Yeah, there's a general there's just like a general kind of like layout for like what each team provides as quote unquote utility, and most of the time they involve the same things. So I feel like if each project is like has a common denominator of this quote unquote same utility, which and a lot of them are like very similar, charity, now nodes are like a thing that are like heavily being promoted and stuff like that. When they have a common, I feel like when they have a common denominator, the list of utilities, I feel like it's a sign that there might not be something tangibly set up already, like in Web 2. You know what I'm saying? Like if those are the first two things, damn, she done rugged. Hold on, let me get her back up here.
Disclaimer: I did not rug. This is literally my stupidity again.
I was like, damn, she got tired of my voice. Like,
no, this is my own incompetence. This time I clicked the leave the stage button instead of the unmute button.
word. But yeah, I feel just like if once for now, like we can't keep using those common denominators of utility, or else people are going to start realizing that, like, hey, wait, hold up. Once we start bringing a higher value to just Web2 utility in general, people are going to start realizing, like, oh shit, like I'm seeing these common denominators. I'm seeing like, oh, they're offering nodes, or oh, they're doing charity and merch and all this other shit. Like they might not have any fucking plan whatsoever. And I feel like, building from the ground up and just laying out all these things and getting away from and taking time too. I feel like, a lot of people and founders, and this goes for a lot of founders too, they like to we can sugarcoat things as much as we want, but my personal opinion is that, a lot of people realize that this is a prime time to make some money. And because it's a prime time to make some money, a lot of people are, especially like builders or whatever, founders are a lot less willing to take that time in Web 2 because they feel as if they're going to miss out on a rush that they are uncertain about its like future, like we're uncertain about like, oh damn, like I'm uncertain about whether or not like Web3 is going to be here, but I know it's a wave right now. Let me become a founder and say I got all this shit going on, and this is what I really care about in the community. Like community is like, I'm sorry, but it's like such a necessary word, but I hate hearing that word over and over again, like because it's just it's misused, and it's just like it's misused and just like not taken seriously enough. I feel like for how often it's thrown around, and I feel like we I don't feel like it's real most of the time in the space, and it should be real, but it's not.
Yep. I absolutely agree on a couple things that you touched on there. So I'm glad that you spoke about it as a wave, essentially, because the current model of how we're looking at it as like this very like a good way to make money and blah blah blah. If we look at it in the grand scheme of things, it's unsustainable. If you're in a system and you're looking at it as a way to make money, and this is one of the topics of conversation that we speak of often, and it's about, okay, people that are coming in and are in this euphoric state, almost like back when we had the shitcoin rush of crypto, in like June, July last year. It's an unsustainable model because you have people coming in, and yeah, there are a lot of people making money, but are these people contributing to the system as well? Are the people that are making money also becoming part of the ecosystem? And this brings us to where you talked about community. So essentially, yes, I believe community has become one of the biggest buzzwords that people are using. And, oh yeah, I'm part of the community and blah, blah, blah. And that's not for me to say that there are no real communities. There definitely are. There definitely are great projects that have people that fundamentally believe in what they're doing and believe in the founders, and founders that are proving themselves and showing progress and reinstilling that faith in their projects and their abilities. However, we also have these, I like to call them like hype communities. And that's where we see this non-sustainable kind of view, because technically these really are people that are, and it was me in the beginning. Like when I was first introduced to it, I was introduced to it as a system where you can get in, get out, make money, make a quick flip. But then when I start to look at it and think about it logically, it's like, okay, if all I'm doing is flipping, someone is ending up my exit liquidity. And this is like a not sustainable system. Like, so this is someone definitely losing money on the opposite end of this. If this is a project that is not progressing and a project that is not, that doesn't have any plans or any form of sustainability, this is a project that ends up with a bunch of people that are exit liquidity and a bunch of people that are going to lose money in the end. So like essentially, you do not want to be the last bag holder in these projects that just hype up and pump and dump. Like, and crypto's the same. You do not want to be the person that's on the opposite end of that pump and dump, because you're ending up someone else's exit liquidity. And I feel like, again, it comes down to the idea of, okay, are people coming into the system contributing? And contributing can be, and I don't mean financially. I mean bringing in more valuable community members that can offer skills? Are we bringing in more community members that can educate? Are we onboarding in an efficient way? Are we supporting projects in ways other than throwing money at them? Like, are we holding their projects and are we having faith in those founders? And on the opposite end, like founders and whatever projects you're involved in do have to prove themselves. So I think it's an interesting way to look at it as well. Right
Yeah.
now, like the whole pump and dump system, the whole hype, and we're seeing it now. I think the bear market is essentially weeding out. Like, yeah, we had the whole free mint meta, which I think personally I see dying down. A lot of
I'm
people.
so happy about that shit. I hate
Oh
it so
yeah,
much. I'm so happy about that shit. This shit needs to go.
absolutely. So I see like that dying down very fast. I'm not in support of a project coming out and saying the whole like if you were around like 3 weeks ago, all you would have seen on Twitter was no roadmap, no Discord, no
No
this, no
plans,
that.
no promises. Yeah. And then they come out
Exactly.
with like a fucking
Exactly.
piece of art that's like a square or some shit. Like, get out of here.
Exactly. Like, dude, okay, but even if it is a free mint, like, you're gonna then be relying on secondary sales, right, for that to end up
Hmm.
anything worthwhile. But then I look at it and I'm like, why on earth would I buy something on secondary that has no roadmap and no potential and no,
Yeah.
like, it just makes no sense to me. Um,
Remember when like
oh,
we
I
were
can get
minting
heated
shit
about
for
this.
0.05? And like we were minting shit for like 0.05, and then now like you get in you see in the discords, you see in the Twitter, it's like, well, wow, 0.04 is kind of like, it's like, bro, like, and they were saying that when ETH was like $1,000. It's like, if you don't have, it's like
Exactly.
it's like, bro, that's like what, like what's 0.04 on that, like $40 or some shit like that, like, and like, oh man, bro, people like will be picky about anything, anything. I could not imagine like complaining about something being 0.04 when ETH tanked completely to 1,000.
What
Like,
is
I just
point
couldn't
zero
imagine.
four? Like, let's be serious. What is 0.04 when ETH is at 1,000? Like $40?
$40, like $40. Well, that's kind of high. It's
I
like,
mean,
bro, well, how do you
I mean,
expect to
you
like
pay
them to
40
make
bucks
it?
to take an Uber from one place to the next. I mean, let's be
Yo, for
serious.
real. You're telling me I can buy like maybe like what, like 3 sandwiches with that? Like, bro, come on. That's
I
ridiculous.
don't
And
know.
then
We were
like they.
literally just talking like before I
Mhm.
hopped on, we were talking about the prices in fucking Vegas, man. Like you can take one of those bike rides for $20 a minute and you want to complain about spending 40 bucks?
Yeah,
Um,
that's complete bullshit. And then they expect like, you come out with a free mint, and they're like, well, the team isn't doing anything. Like, they don't have any money. You didn't pay them anything. Like, they didn't. Like,
exactly.
they're like, oh yeah, the team, like, they're not doing anything. Like, bro, like, they need money to do shit. This shit is
My
crazy.
favorite
Like you need
My
money to do
favorite
shit.
is this project rugged us, and it's a free mint.
Yeah, right.
That's
Oh
my
my god.
favorite.
Yeah, have you seen people in chat asking for gas fee reimbursements? Like, this shit is
Oh God.
crazy. Shit is crazy,
Oh,
crazy, man. Like, even I work for Lumiheads as well, and like we were seeing that. It's like, you guys need to reimburse. Like, I'm like, what? What's wrong with you? Like, it's this shit is crazy, and then, like, people get so babied, like, and like whiny in this space because they know that they can kind of like. It's really weird too, because like, it can be all these like 15-year-old kids that don't know shit about investing, and then they can all come together and then strong arm these grown ass people to like doing what they want. It's incredible, yo. It's incredible. Like, it's incredible. But yeah, man. It's got to go, and I'm glad. I hope there's more money that comes into this space where like teams that actually like want to do like real shit can like actually have the money to like do what they want. I think that would be great. I think that would be great. We need some more bread back in this space, for sure. Um, but it's interesting because now we're like that we're on this old topic about the Web 2. We were like talking about it a bit yesterday, but it's like we ask ourselves the question, like, can Web 2 keep up with with what Web 3 has going on? Because we evolve weekly in Web 3. Like, we have new metas like every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. Like, there's something. If you miss a week, you're missing a lot here in like the space. And it's just like it can be rough. So we, like, the time it takes to produce actual real merchandise or anything that's like tangible, real goods, it takes more than like a week or 3 weeks. Like, it takes, like, whether it's a cartoon show, whether it's like a piece of clothing you can wear, like food, giving you access to food, that shit takes more than 3 weeks. So it's like, it's good that how we were talking about it earlier is, we shouldn't expect Web 2 to kind of like keep up with Web 3. We should kind of just like, focus on like Web 2, like giving it the time to like do its thing and like move Web 3 as like Web 2 goes. Because, I mean, to be honest, like, if we're looking for real stuff, it's going to take more than 3 weeks. It's going to take more than like a meta moves in this entire space. So I think the meta changes are definitely going to slow down a shitload, personally.
So the time aspect is quite interesting because absolutely what you're saying, like, if you put, I'm a product designer by trade, right? So if I put into practicality, like how long it takes to develop a product, it's just unrealistic. The expectations that people have in Web3. And that's not just like actual physical products. If we're talking, and this can range from anything, like building a fucking metaverse, which seems to be everyone's utility these days, building a game, a good game, a game that is essentially fun, because we seem to lose the idea of like a game needs to be fun, not just a game needs to be P2E. So like, can we just like that? We can shelve that topic for another time. But like, that's part of it. Like, developing a game can take years. Building out a metaverse can take months at least, at a bare minimum. And we're looking at these founders and we're thinking, okay, where's my utility? Where are they working? And so people are losing interest very fast because, and I also think like the rate that projects are coming out and like the new metas and also like the cash grabs. Like, there are some people that are literally just here to make money fast. And this is, again, where I'll bring it back to, okay, are these people contributing? And contributing in the sense of, are they the kind of people that will hold your project and that will trust you to be working in the background on your project while you are holding their project and not just trying to flip it for a quick buck and dropping that floor price? And then essentially, not that I really care about floor price, but essentially dropping the perceived value of your project if you see a very low floor price, where you could be working on one fucking hell of a project. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear or not, but I mean, okay.
I'm sorry. Like, if they yell at me about it, we'll edit it out. But
I try not to as much as I can, but sometimes I just get so heated on like certain topics. But yeah, so
yeah, I feel you.
You have to understand that there's two ways of doing this, right? So again, if you are on the fundraising end of this and you need the money before you can start working on a project, I'm not going to say, okay, you have to take your whole entire life savings and have all the funds ready and whatever, and have a finished product before you launch your like, no, I understand. Like, let's be realistic. Some people come to the NFT space because they need the funding first, but they have a really cool idea. So at the very least, you have to show some sort of development and some sort of investment, whether that's money or time or planning. Like, you have to show me a business
and
plan.
a timeline. Yeah, a time like a decent, like a legitimate timeline, like not just
standard.
Yeah, not just like a little like piece of art of like a paved road and like you're walking to the house where the merchandise is at, and then you're walking down the street.
I want a business plan. I want a realistic business plan on how you're going to execute this. I want to know that through these funds, you have allocated enough in the traditional business sense of, okay, my project is going to die down. for a good 4 to 5 months because I know the trends in the market. I know that people are going to get bored. I know that I'm not going to be able to show progress for a good 4 to 5 months. So I have enough money to hold me through these like dead periods of development or of a project's lifespan. There are a lot of projects that are going through it now, and the only ones that are going to make it out are the projects that essentially budgeted properly, and not projects that just threw money away, and projects that went and bought out like these massive, like, oh, let's go buy some blue chip projects and give them out as giveaways, and that way we'll keep people enticed and keep them.
Yeah.
No, you essentially have spent your budget that you were planning on using for your business, that which is what you pitch to people. So
Yeah, it's hard because you got to find a balance because, you know, I feel like that's when you really don't know, because more than like having a good business plan, it's really a big portion of it is about knowing how to like deal with consumers or like communicate well, interact with consumers. Because if you're interacting well, communicating well, there's no reason to be like, you know what, I need to provide an incentive for them to stay. Like if your thing is like actually like, you know, a good idea, like, oh well shit, it's been 5 weeks and they haven't heard anything, let's buy a doodle and give it away, and then everybody leaves afterwards. Like it's got to be like some really good communication. Like you have some people in the space, they have great business backgrounds like on the back end, but they have no shit clue idea about how to actually operate interpersonally with people that are investors, and it's a very unique and difficult ball game now because, you know, there is no Web2 company that I can think of at least that has, I mean, there probably is, but that has like people from the age of 14 to like 60 something in vast quantities of each age group, all buying into this one thing. So it's like, because of that,
definitely gaming companies are going to be that. Gaming companies for sure.
Yeah, baby. Oh, yeah, baby companies. Yeah, like, but because of that, like, you have to learn. But because you have people with all different age groups and like, you know, maturity levels, like understandings of investment, like you have to learn how, like, and this is completely unique to just like business now, is that like you have to learn how to like communicate with both age groups and find something that can generally connect and like be understood by like all age groups when you're communicating with your community, because every single person is like, the age range is so big, you know? So you can get on this like big technical business thing and all the 60-year-olds be like, oh, this is great. And then all the kids can be like, what the fuck? Where's like there's no giveaways? Like it's totally different. And then like you if the vice versa is like, you know, you can do something that like the youth will love and be more like receptive to, and then like somebody older will come along and be like, damn, like, where's the business plans? Like, there's nothing. This sucks. And then like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like you have to find a way to like generally and effectively communicate to all age groups in the NFT space. And
absolutely.
Better, even more than like you have to like work on the business plan itself. Like, it's just the communicating with all age groups is like the biggest part. I feel like that's what keeps people happy. That's what keeps people coming back. Yeah. So essentially building a real community, essentially getting your point across. So
this, and it's amazing how everything that we talk about will essentially circle back because it's all related to each other. So when you talk about communicating and getting through to all different age groups, you essentially are talking about your community, and it's going to be an interesting one because if you do not get your business plan through, if you do not tell people what you essentially will be offering them and what you will be providing them, you are not going to find the right people that want to stick around. Like, maybe your project will not appeal to all ages. So you're going to want to weed out the people that are going to be upset with what your project actually is about when you essentially show that at the end. So I wrote down, I've been taking like random notes like while you were talking, and I think the I wrote like massively communication. It's such a huge part of building this society, and communication comes back to onboarding new people. It comes back to education in the space. It comes back to business. It comes back to, again, community. It comes back to, it's just so important. There was another point that I wanted to mention, and let me just think. I was going to say another way that you can come in, if you have the resources and if you are willing to make that initial investment. Like, I've been involved in quite a few projects that have put up quite a lot of funding firsthand. And what they've done is they've gone and they've raised this funding from VCs, and they've raised this funding from businesses that believe in their vision. And you can only do that if you have like a real structure and a real business plan. Like, you want people to take you seriously. And what they do is they show people like an MVP, a minimum viable product, before you even launch your NFT. So there's two ways of approaching this. You're either going to come in and you're going to convince VCs and you're going to convince big businesses that you can pull this off. And in the case of like Web2 companies coming in, I feel like they themselves have to be convinced that they can pull something off, because they're essentially going to be self-funding. But also that they have to show, we can raise the standard with big businesses coming in versus the standard for an entrepreneur that's coming in to raise money and launch an idea. Like, we can have higher standards for people that are massive businesses, and that's okay. And that's good, because that's going to raise the standard of projects overall in the space. So yeah, there's two ways of doing it. You can either show people and that initial investment and where you've put it and what your product is essentially going to look like, or you can convince people that you are trustworthy and that you know what you're doing, and that this is going to be, it's always a risk, but that this is going to be a risk that they're willing to take.
Right.
Like, you have to show people that they're okay taking a chance on you. Yeah, I could talk about this for days, so you're gonna have to shut me up at some point.
Yeah, I gotta. So this is a little. Man, I don't wanna. Well, I have a random question that I wanna make sure I say it now so I don't forget. But do you think you'll be able to buy like dogs with NFTs? Or have NFTs? Ownership of dogs, like actual dogs? Yeah, like a walking, breathing dog. Like, will you? Is your ownership verified through the fact your NFT, your dog?
Okay, so here's my question: am I essentially buying the dog, or am I buying proof of ownership? Because if I'm buying the dog, what you're talking about essentially is me paying for a dog in crypto. But if you're talking about me getting an NFT when I get a dog,
to get the dog,
or when I adopt a dog, for example, that's technically a proof of ownership, rather, that I'm getting.
Okay, I get you. Okay, yeah, right. So we can probably make duplicates.
Which I think is a great technology. That's a great use case, by the way. Shelters and rescues, sending you an NFT when you adopt a dog, for example, and you can scan the dog's microchip, and then your NFT will show, and it'll show that you are the rightful owner of that dog. I think that's a really cool use case as well.
So what if somebody gets into your hot wallet, transfers this shit out, you know what I'm saying, compromises you, then takes you to court, like, yo, it's my fucking dog. Like, what are you gonna do then?
All right. So here's what's interesting. They're transferring it out. They're not buying it from you. You're not selling it. That's recorded on the blockchain.
Oh, you spitting right now. Yeah.
We can see those transactions. Like, you cannot hide what's going on. You cannot hide the link that you went through in order to authorize that transaction. So if I click on a link in Twitter and authorize a transaction for someone to essentially steal an NFT or drain an NFT out of my wallet, you can trace back to where that prompt came from. So the blockchain is great for things like that.
Oh, okay, yeah, never mind. It just debunked everything I was thinking about. Yeah, that's a perfect, like, all right, that's perfect. That was a perfect explanation. Um, yeah, that was. I just had to get that off. I don't know why. I was like, I didn't want to
You've
forget
got
it
to
because
love
like
full
we were
transparency, man. You've got to love not being able to hide anything.
yeah, man. I think it's dope. I think that will definitely get people their like security. So yo, like
Well, yeah, but I
speaking
mean,
of
the
like,
biggest thing is
mhm,
then, okay, who will enforce this?
mhm,
And this is where we look at regulation and whether
yeah,
regulation is a good or a bad thing. And I mean, there are a lot of arguments against regulation, but then again, there's also a lot of like arguments for it because, like, say
mhm,
someone does steal your NFT, who do you go to? Like, who
mhm,
is liable for that? It's not like a traditional banking system where if someone steals money out of your bank, there's like a whole government behind you or a
yeah,
whole like, the law is on your side. Like, if we don't have any regulation, who do you go to for things like that? Who do you go to for
mhm.
safety and protection and security? Like, there's no kickback if we don't have regulation. That's also like a completely different topic for like another day,
Yeah,
but
I
also
was
a
gonna
very
go into
valid
it
one.
too. Yeah, I was definitely gonna elaborate on that, but I realized like we would be here for a bit. Because I
Oh
totally
yeah, we'll be
agree.
here
Like
for a hot minute.
yeah, I totally agree. I feel like yeah. So like, what do you? So there's I've been seeing a lot on Twitter with this whole thing with Moonbirds going on. Like they're basically what Moonbirds got going on is like basically the exact opposite of Bored Ape right now, where it's like you as of Friday, like now anybody can use the picture that's representing your NFT in pretty much anything, a show or whatever, like all the copyright, boom, gone. Like, so what do you feel like about like do you because I feel like to be honest, they can those both allowing full own like IP and like and then taking it away like can be profitable in two different ways. Like what do you feel like about that? Like people are mad, but also like people it's like all right, you're mad, but it's just like what was you gonna do with that shit anyway? Like what like people are upset. Like what do you feel about that?
Um, I think it's interesting, and I think it's difficult for me to take a side because, again, I can argue for and I can argue against why it would be a good business decision, but also I can look at it and say that this is, I don't know, potentially something that Moonbirds might change their mind on later down the line, which is also going to have some kickback, but um, so there's a lot of the arguments for kind of is that it's very expensive to fight off any type of lawsuits that well, any type of lawsuits that you may have to if people use your copyright, all right, without your permission.
Mm-hmm.
It gets very expensive, right? So one of the biggest things that their community members are talking about or those that are in favor of this decision are okay, they would rather use that funding elsewhere and build, which makes
Yeah.
sense. So I mean, you can't argue against it, but then there's the argument of okay, if I came into Moonbirds and I spent $30,000 buying a Moonbird, which essentially is a new car,
Mm-hmm.
and I had plans to use the licensing of that Moonbird for a specific, like, I don't know, like Bored and Hungry like restaurant. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I technically now got screwed over by that because anyone can essentially copy that idea or do that idea if that's what they want to do. So that's a massive argument against, and I think that's what most of the community members are angry about, and they're not for. As far as like regulation goes, so we have this topic often of like IP and what the benefits of you owning your own IP if you own an NFT is and stuff like that. And it's a massive discussion. If I look at it from an investor point of view and I buy into a collection that does not give me my own IP or ownership of said IP, however, they have a plan for the project or the entire collection IP, right? And how they're going to monetize it and how it's going to essentially benefit me in the long run. That's great
Mm-hmm.
because you're talking about 10,000 people, maybe I don't know, 100 or 200, that's me being very generous, of those 10,000 are going to do something with that IP. So
Yeah.
essentially it being controlled by the founders or the holding company could be beneficial, more beneficial for more people.
Yeah. I saw a tweet. I saw a tweet yesterday. Somebody was like, the only people that are mad about the Moonbirds going CEO are like Bored Ape owners who haven't done shit with their ape. And I'm like, yo, like that makes like people like why be upset? You have an asset that's worth a lot. You know how many people made stupid bread off their Moonbird, like from just like having one ETH in their wallet and being able to just make the pre-mint like on time, or like getting lucky enough to like. It's like, why be upset? Why act like you didn't do that shit to make some bread? Like, it's just like you. I don't get it, and it's just like you know, like you said, and 100 people. I think, yeah, I agree with you. That's generous as fuck. Like, ain't no 100 people out of that 10,000 they're gonna be like, you know what? All right, like let me go. Look, dang, I wanna make some shirts. I wanna make some engineer some real birds that look like mine. I want to make a show. Like nobody's doing that shit. like not yet, at least. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we'll get to a point in the future where, like, all right, a lot of people like Web2 people with big money, but like, you know, I want to go into Web3 and buy this Moonbird or buy this Bored Ape so I can use it for whatever I have planned in like Web2, whether it's a television show or brand or anything like that. I feel like that's going to happen a lot more in the future. But right now, like, why are y'all mad? Like, when y'all got no plans, like no plans to do nothing. I'm like, yeah, I don't. But
essentially it's a lot of publicity, and I mean, I think it would be, like, personally, and again, everything that I'm saying, everything that I've said, just as a disclaimer for anyone that's heard this or will hear this, everything that is being said right now is my personal opinion. And I actually, I welcome opposing opinions, and I welcome people giving me a different point of view, and I love that. I think that's what's great about the space as well, is that you get to be very subjective in your point of view. You don't have to be objective about everything, so you get to formulate your own opinions. And so for me, I think it would be really, really cool for me to be holding a Moonbird and then see that there's a Moonbird TV show, and then I can be like, oh, hey, I own one of those.
yeah,
I don't know how it plays out financially. I don't know how essentially the holding company benefits from that. But I do think that publicity, in a sense, can be exploited and can be used very well. And I don't mean exploited in a bad way. I mean it in a very productive
yeah.
sense.
I think the idea of it too is like people would be mad that like, hey, like my goddamn Moonbird went viral, but I didn't go viral. What the fuck? You know, like like people like the bird that they own is getting more love than them, and they have it, but they don't get any money from it. They don't get any benefits from it. It's just there, like getting all the, you know, all the benefits of it, or the company's reaping all the benefits of it. But yeah, yeah, like it's interesting both sides. Like it's really, man. I don't know what I would prefer because I don't have enough money to be in a position to own either of those shits. But like,
Same.
I don't know what I would prefer, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think, like, you know, I don't think I would be upset because you know, I feel like most people that are, you know, holders of these things aren't like in a place of like financial, like like financial freedom, and like, you know, like the have the liberty to be like, hey, you know what, like I'll throw this money towards here. I want my money to be used like this or that or whatever. Like, I don't feel like many people that are in the space have that complete liberty. So it's like, why be upset when this is really just a blessing to you to just have the shit in the first place? That's just my perspective. I don't know. It could be wrong. Maybe overlooking shit, but who knows, man? Who knows? Yeah. I think it's fun to see like But I also think there's like the real fun aspect of it too. Like, what Bored Ape has going on with the whole Yuga Labs and like the game and like everything like that. Like, I think that's a real fun aspect of it. But
I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm very excited to see when we look at you guys like industry leaders, so to say. I'm super excited to see where they take this, and what precedent they set. And I think we're just starting. I mean, how long has it been since Board Games? Like a few years now. Like we're just now seeing like tangible product development, tangible progress. So they're ahead of everyone, and I'm so looking forward to seeing products like Skaterbirds, for example, eventually show us their progress, and other projects that I'm investing in and that I'm holding. I'm excited to see the progress.
Yeah, we doing it right at Skaterbirds. We got the cafe coming. We got the goddamn the merch coming. Like we it's great to give people just real shit. And I think like and to be honest with you, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Like even I think it's great like that you guys are doing the 24-hour spaces. Like to me, that's something that's still somewhat tangible, because think about it. Like even without Web3, we're out here listening to podcasts. We're out here like listening to Twitter Spaces. Like we're doing things that are like even news I would consider to be tangible, because it's just something that we take part of outside of Web3 still, while we're driving, while we're working out. Like so I think like even just like things that are just like community based and like informative are still good too. Like I think we have to like I feel like we're headed in a really good direction, and I feel like people are going to start to like look a little bit more deeper with like the value they get being a part of a project. I think like September is supposedly supposed to be a big month. That's if they decide to not postpone the merge for a third year in a row, for Ethereum and for 2.0 to come out. So we'll see how that goes. I think there's going to be a lot of maybe like not immediately, but like I say, like a month after, it's probably going to be a lot of fresh blood in space. And like, I don't know. I hope if it goes through, I hope we see a boom. Like, what you think?
Yep. I think.
Are you out there making beats?
I'm actually looking at Skaterbirds website that has a 2-hour 2-day countdown, which is pretty cool. I'm kind of bullish. You mentioned the cafe and everything. I was like, oh hey, like I'm waiting for this. Like, where's that up? So I think the E2 drop has potential to push a little bit. I do think though that I don't think it's enough of a factor to roll us into the next bull market. I do think that there are more macro elements that are going to play a part there. I think if we look at the last bull cycle, we have to consider why people had so much disposable income, I guess, to throw into the space. And I know in like first world countries, America, like people were chilling and getting money, and they could put the money into the space and stuff like that. Like, so
we're bad over here in America. We got kids who don't know how to use any money. They ain't using their money. Like they're using their mom's money. They're getting scammed on Fortnite. We suck over here.
Yep. I mean, we don't really have those luxuries here.
Okay.
If I want to buy dollars, I have to literally go on like the black market. But I think the macro factors the macro environment is gonna play a big role in when we see the next bull cycle. I also think what's interesting is that a lot of spotlight historically is placed on America and what America is going to do. And I think the amazing thing with crypto is that regardless regardless of what it does now, like we are now talking global movements. We are talking African countries that are getting heavy into crypto because it's opening up doors for them that they don't have. It's opening channels to be able to send and transfer money back and forth that are not there or that are not existent, and that the government regulates and that corruption kind of has taken over with. And so the spotlight on America is being shifted a little bit and being made more global, where we have players like the Asian market now coming into it. We have entire countries now coming into crypto. And I know I'm shifting the conversation a little bit over to crypto off of NFTs, but I think they are heavily dependent on each other. Like you cannot separate the two. I think once the process of I'm going to touch a little bit on mass adoption, otherwise we'll be here till the end of the night. But just to touch a little bit on that, I think once we've streamlined crypto processes and once we've made it so easy for people to onboard and so safe that you don't even have to think about it, and it's as simple as swiping your Visa card, we won't see that big shift in NFTs and mass adoption in NFTs. So I think crypto is going to first to lead with that, and then NFTs can follow, because the technology has to be there in the crypto side first.
Yeah, we're too heavily dependent on that shit right now. Like as far as like too heavily dependent. I feel like it'll, as the mass adoption like does like start to like happen, I feel like we'll greatly be able to separate ourselves. Like our money will still be somewhat dependent on like the crypto market. I don't think like we'll ever be like entirely free like as far as like NFT investors, because if the crypto market,
it's blockchain technology. So I mean, by definition, it's kind of based off of crypto.
Yeah. So, I think it'll be a lot more stable and like predictable, which is great for just investing in general.
100%.
Yeah. But I feel like there's so much to like just look forward to. My personal opinion on just like the whole the merge is just that like I hope it does well, but in agreement with you, I don't think that's going to be the key to like jump starting everything, because to be honest with you, most people don't really even understand what the merge is or like what it's going to do. And a lot of people during that time in September, if the merge does happen, they're not even going to realize that a merge did happen, because they're not like, we're just in the bull. Like, nah, like something happened. That's why people are buying. So it's like a lot of people don't even know about the merge. So I feel like there isn't. I don't feel like the merge alone will provide enough to encourage everybody in the space to take part of the space, or everybody that was outside of the space to take part of it. Because what if you don't know about the merge? You know what I'm saying? What if you don't know anything about Ethereum or anything? It's like, how does that connect with you? That something big happened in the space for crypto. If you have so, I don't know. I'm hopeful though. I'm definitely hopeful, because I need that Ethereum to go up. Change my life a little bit. But yeah,
I think we're all waiting for that.
Yeah, but yeah, man, it was great talking with you today. For real, like I love like just like how informative like and knowledgeable you are. Like you taught me a lot, and I feel like the perspective that I really took away today was just like of just kind of like understanding that we need to do the work outside of Web2 first. That's something that I think is really that stuck with me, and I want to kind of like share with like people that I work with in the space as well, because undoubtedly like we're that's. I feel like it's going to be its own meta. Like that's like the direction that we're heading. People need to see like, okay, like what can I do with this, or like what can I like, what is this going to give me in real life? So, I think it was a great conversation today, and I appreciate you coming on for real.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much to you and Amax for reaching out. And obviously, you can tell I love talking. It's kind of my new big thing.
Yeah,
Um,
I had to back up a little bit because I love talking too. So I was like, God damn, like let me for the yeah. So
oh man. Oh, I'm
yeah,
happy to listen to you talk as well, like as much as you want. Like I just think there's so much value in listening to someone talk, even though like I like to talk a lot myself. Like you learn the most when you're listening, right?
oh
So,
yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, we gotta have more
yo.
conversations. I'm definitely like interested in like like just continue to have like good conversations and stuff like that with you. So what's the space is called so far? It's called uninformed opinions, right?
Yeah, yeah. Again,
Boom.
I don't wanna shill it at all.
We gotta chill. We gotta chill it. Yo, everybody listen to this. If you get the chance, make sure you follow Zarina on Twitter. What's your OXZRINA, right? On Twitter.
It's Zeina actually. I have changed my alias from Zarina back to Zena, which is my birth given name.
Oh, okay.
um,
I'm here calling you Zarina the whole time because that's why I
oh
do
yeah,
that.
yeah. No. That's been my alias for the past 6 months. So I mean that's great.
Okay.
um, but yeah. So I'll just give a little bit of. I mean, since you're letting me. So we are. Give me a second. I have to look this up because, like, to be really honest, I haven't like completely memorized it. So it's totally uninformed opinions on NFTs, Web3, gaming, tech, startups, and VC. And we are a 24/7 running space. We are a no shill zone. Ironically, that I'm shilling right now. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, we have three simple rules: be respectful, don't shill, and do not pin links up to the top if you come up to speak because we want to keep the space safe. We don't know what link you are pinning. We don't know where you're sending people. Um, yeah, and come around anytime, talk about anything. We talk about a lot of stuff. And yeah, if any of the conversations at any time of the day appeal to you, hop up on stage and say hi.
Word. Yo, I'm definitely like I told you yesterday. I'm gonna try and hop in there today because I'm excited to see this because you got Radio Shack, the great Radio Shack, showing up. You got the Ethereum people, everything. So I'm excited for this. So everybody, make sure you follow OX0xZeina ZEINA on Twitter. Give her a follow. She's great conversationalist, great just personality in the space, and just very informative person. And make sure you go check out the Uninformed Opinions podcast, Totally Uninformed Opinion podcast. And they're running 28 days straight right now. So 24-hour Twitter spaces. And they've been running for 28 days.
It sounds almost unbelievable, right? I feel like we're all zombies at this point, but yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. I'm definitely gonna go check it out. But once again, it was really nice like speaking to you, and yeah. I hope you have a great Sunday.
Absolutely. You too, man. Well, Sunday's almost over for me, but ironically, I'm now on American time, so I get to bed at like 4 or 5 in the morning. So yeah, have a good Sunday is correct because I feel like I have a whole day ahead of me, but it's 9 p.m.
Yeah.
But again, thank you so much for having me. It's a great discussion. I don't know why we don't talk more often because like we used to talk in VC. It's like over at Lumi's like
we were the VC squad, bro. The squad.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna connect more on the space on Spaces, DMs, and all that. It's gonna be dope.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate the conversation, and I think everybody that's gonna be listening to the podcast today will definitely be very grateful as well. So, yeah, man.
you.